We often see karma as a kind of destiny, a system of cosmic rewards and punishments that operates in mysterious ways. We think it's something that happens to us, an external force over which we have no control. But Buddhist wisdom reveals something much deeper and more hopeful. Karma is not what happens to you, it's what you do. It is the universal law of cause and effect set in motion at every moment by our own intentions, and to understand it is to go from being a spectator of your life to its conscious creator. That's why in today's video, we are going to break down the 12 laws of karma in a clear way and with everyday examples. You will understand how every one of your actions, words, and thoughts is sowing the seeds of the life you will experience tomorrow. At the end, we will do a short guided meditation so you can put these teachings into practice starting today. If you can, take some notes or save this video to watch it again when you need it. And don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel to continue delving deeper together. Let's begin. 1. The law of creation. This first law takes us out of the spectator's role and places us in the director's chair of our life. It tells us that life is not something that simply happens to us, but that we actively participate in its creation. We are not passive victims of destiny, but the architects of our own reality. The foundation of this idea is found in the most ancient Buddhist teachings, which state that the mind governs and creates everything we experience. Buddhist philosophy is even more explicit in defining karma with a single word: intention. Every intention we have, whether to help, harm, or ignore, is a creative seed we are planting. Think of two people who lose their jobs. One cultivates the intention to blame the world and sinks into resentment, creating a reality of bitterness and stagnation. The other, facing the same event, cultivates the intention to see it as an opportunity to grow, creating a reality of learning and new possibilities. 2. The law of acceptance. This law teaches us that we cannot change what we refuse to accept. In order to build a different future, we must first honestly accept where we are now. Fighting against our present reality, which is the fruit of our past actions, only generates more suffering and prevents us from sowing new seeds. In an ancient Buddhist story, some ascetics had to listen to and accept the painful truth that their actions would lead to a result consistent with their practices. It was only after that difficult acceptance that they could open themselves to a new teaching and change their destiny. Imagine someone with financial problems from overspending. As long as they continue to deny the reality of their debts, blaming external factors, they will remain trapped. The change will only begin when they fully accept their situation as a starting point from which they can make new and wiser decisions in the future. 3. The law of transformation. This law reminds us that true change always comes from the inside out. We often seek to change the world around us, like our partner, our job, or our friends, hoping that this will bring us happiness. However, karma teaches us that for our world to change, we must first change ourselves. The teachings make it clear. The result of our actions depends on whether we act with a corrupt mind or a clear mind. The source of transformation is in our own heart and our own mind. We are the ones who must grow and evolve, not the world. For example, if a person feels that no one values them, they could spend their life demanding external recognition. The law of transformation suggests that the path is to cultivate one's own worth from within. By developing self-confidence and generosity, their actions change, their energy changes, and like a magnet, they begin to attract the respect and appreciation they once desperately sought outside. 4. The law of responsibility. This is perhaps one of the most direct and empowering laws. It tells us that we must take responsibility for our lives because we are the result of our own actions. There is no one to blame. What we live today is the harvest of what we sowed yesterday. Buddhist wisdom expresses this with absolute clarity. Beings are the owners of their actions, heirs of their actions. They originate from them and have them as their refuge. This phrase is a radical call to spiritual maturity. Our actions are our true ancestors and our only real possession. An everyday example is the difference between blaming traffic for being late to an important meeting or taking responsibility for not leaving home earlier. The first option leaves us as helpless victims of circumstances. The second, though uncomfortable, gives us the power to change the outcome next time. Taking responsibility gives us back control over our future karma. 5. The law of connection. This law reminds us that nothing in the universe exists in isolation. Every action we take, no matter how small, is part of a vast, interconnected tapestry. Our lives are intertwined with the lives of others and with the world around us. The Buddhist teachings give us a clue when they explain that compassion towards all living beings leads to a long and healthy life for oneself. This shows that an action directed outward has a direct effect back on us. Think of the simple act of smiling at a stranger. That small action can change their mood, which in turn might make them kinder to the next person they meet. Your action doesn't end with you. It sends a ripple through the fabric of reality. Understanding this inspires us to act with more care and awareness. 6. The law of focus. This law states that what we focus on determines our reality. We cannot advance spiritually if our mind is filled with negative or contradictory thoughts. To create positive karma, we need to focus our mental energy consciously. A scattered and unfocused mind is easily swept away by impulses of anger, envy, or greed, generating dark actions according to Buddhist philosophy. A focused mind, on the other hand, has the ability to consciously choose a bright action. For example, if you constantly focus on scarcity and what you lack, your actions will tend to be stingy and fearful. If, on the other hand, you focus your mind on gratitude and what you can offer, your actions will be more generous, cultivating better relationships and attracting more opportunities. 7. The Law of Coherence. This law teaches us that it's not enough to have good beliefs or talk about great values. Our actions must be a coherent reflection of what we claim to believe. Karma does not respond to our words, but to our deeds. Practice must be aligned with theory. Buddhist wisdom illustrates this perfectly with the metaphor of the cowherd who counts another's cows but owns none himself. It is useless to recite sacred texts if one does not put them into practice. It is the person who strives in the practice who truly reaps the rewards. Imagine someone who considers themselves a spiritual person and constantly talks about peace and love, but then is impatient and rude in a supermarket line. Their actions are not coherent with their beliefs, and it is the action, the impatient treatment, that generates the real karma. Coherence is what gives power and authenticity to our path. 8. The law of the present. This law brings us back to the only place where we have real power, the here and now. We often live tormented by past karma, mistakes we made, or anxious about future karma, what we want to achieve. But this law reminds us that karmic seeds can only be planted in the present. Karma is defined as intentional action, and intention can only arise in the present moment. The past is already a fruit we are harvesting, and the future is only a possibility. It is in this very instant, with this decision you are making now, that you are creating your future. You can't change the harsh reply you gave a friend yesterday. That karma has already been sown. But you can, in this very moment, decide to send them a message apologizing. That new action, born in the present, plants a new seed that has the power to transform the relationship and your future karma. 9. The law of repetition. This law, also sometimes called the law of change, explains why we often find ourselves stumbling over the same stone again and again. Patterns repeat in our lives until we learn the lesson they contain. That is, until we change the karmic action that is generating them. This principle aligns with the Buddhist idea of the cycle of conditioned existence. The teachings explain how a person with an irascible and irritable character will be reborn in unpleasant conditions, generating frustration and perpetuating their anger. If you find yourself repeatedly in conflicting romantic relationships, for example, the law of repetition suggests that the pattern will continue until you change the internal cause. This could mean learning to set boundaries, healing your self-esteem, or changing the beliefs that lead you to choose that type of partner. When you change the seed, the pattern breaks. 10. The law of effort. This law upholds the idea that every reward, every valuable fruit in our life is the result of an initial effort. Happiness and peace are not found, they are built through conscious actions, as karma is, in its essence, a law of conscious effort. In Buddhist teachings, health or longevity are not coincidences, but come from the conscious effort to abandon and abstain from harmful actions. It is not something passive, it is an active choice that requires energy and dedication. You cannot expect to have a healthy body karmic result if you do not make the effort to eat well and move karmic causes. In the same way, You cannot expect to have a calm mind if you do not make the effort to meditate or practice patience. Karma teaches us that the life of our dreams is not granted to us, it is cultivated with effort. 11. The Law of Intention. This law asserts that the quality of a karmic result depends not only on the external action, but on the energy and intention we put into it. In other words, it's not just what you do, but how and why you do it. Buddhist philosophy distinguishes between bright actions performed with pure intentions like generosity and dark actions performed with corrupt intentions like hatred. As you can imagine, bright actions generate higher quality results. Imagine two people who donate money to a cause. One does it feeling a genuine joy in helping with a pure intention. The other does it reluctantly, only to get a tax deduction or to be seen by others. Although the external action is identical, the energy, the intention, is completely different, and therefore the karmic value and the internal result for each person will also be different. 12. The Great Law. And we arrive at the final law, the one that summarizes and encompasses all the others. The Great Law is the fundamental principle that we reap what we sow. Every cause has its effect, and every action generates a consequence of the same nature. There is no escaping this law. It is as impersonal and reliable as the law of gravity. It is the central message of the most ancient teachings. It is the wheel that inevitably follows the ox and the shadow that never leaves us. It is the engine that explains why our lives are the way they are. You will never plant an apple seed and harvest oranges. In the same way, an action born of hatred can never bring true happiness, and an action born of unconditional love can never bring true suffering. The Great Law is not a moral system imposed by a god. It is simply the mechanics of the universe. Understanding it gives us the definitive map to create, action by action, a life of greater well-being and wisdom. And now, so that all this does not remain mere theory, let's put it into practice. For this, I invite you to a brief guided meditation so you can feel within you the power of sowing a conscious karma. Find a comfortable position, and if you feel comfortable, and if you can, gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, release any tension you may have. Now, bring to mind a small action or interaction you will have later in the day. Bring your attention to the present moment, feeling the weight of your body and the gentle ebb and flow of your breath. It could be sending a message, having a conversation with a loved one, or even the task of preparing dinner. Visualize that moment for an instant. And before acting in your imagination, ask yourself this key question: what seed do I want to plant with this action? Perhaps in that conversation, you want to plant a seed of patience. Or in that message, a seed of clarity and kindness. Or while cooking, a seed of care and gratitude. Choose one intention, just one. Feel that quality in your heart for a moment. Now, visualize yourself performing that same action, but imbued with the intention you have chosen. Feel the difference Feel how a simple daily act is transformed into a gesture of conscious creation. This small exercise is the heart of karma. It's not about doing great things, but about doing small things with great intention. Take one last deep breath, and when you are ready, open your eyes. The tool is already in your hands. We have explored a deep and revealing map. So that you can remember it clearly, let's briefly review the 12 laws of karma that shape our experience. 1. The law of creation. We ourselves create the reality we inhabit. 2. The law of acceptance. We must accept what is in order to transform it. 3. The law of transformation. Growth happens from the inside out, not the other way around. 4. The law of responsibility. We are the sole owners of our actions and their consequences. 5. The law of connection. Everything in the universe is interconnected. 6. The law of focus. What we put our energy into expands. 7. The law of coherence. Our actions must be aligned with our values. 8. The law of the present. The only moment we have to act and change is now. 9. The law of repetition. Patterns repeat until we learn from them. 10. The law of effort. Meaningful results require conscious sowing. 11. The law of intention. The energy behind the action determines its true value. 12. The great law. We reap what we ourselves sow. Remember, these 12 laws are not a code of punishment, but a guide for liberation. They are the compass that allows us to navigate life with greater wisdom, power, and peace. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this profound journey through the laws of karma. I hope this map helps you to navigate your life with greater awareness and freedom, recognizing the power you have in every moment to sow a more fulfilling future. Now, I would love to read your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, which of the 12 laws resonated most with you or seemed the most revealing? Reading your reflections is what gives life to this community. If this video has brought you clarity, I invite you to share it with someone who could also benefit from this wisdom. And if you want to continue exploring these teachings, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for your time and for your intention to grow. See you in the next video.